All right. Hello, everyone. This is a special Hummingbot live stream, mainly so we can answer questions from the audience, go over what's happened in Hummingbot throughout 2025 and some of what we're working on for 2026. As an introduction, my name is Michael. I'm one of the co-founders of Hummingbot. Hummingbot is an open source project that helps build trading bots and basically do anything from an algo trading standpoint that they need to do in the crypto world. The reason why people use it is because we integrate to many exchanges. If you're a quant trader, an algo trader, or a market maker, you can just run your strategies and use the software without having to build integrations. Overall, we're just incredibly excited about what we're doing because despite the turbulence in the market, it's clear that the role of crypto is really about providing like the financial tooling that used to be only available to like Wall Street hedge fund traders and so forth, and just making that technology available to the average person. As someone who started my career in Wall Street, I spent 9 years working for like soulless investment banks and just doing these deals and stuff like that. I just feel like there's a lot of technology that really should be made available to the average person. And I think part of what we try to do at Hummingbot is making the strategies, high frequency trading software, anything from a technical perspective that you would want to buy or use as an algo trader, in my opinion, there should be a free version, because if I'm using it, someone else probably needs it. And if I can contribute my work somewhere and have it used by everyone. Let's talk about like where we are today as Hummingbot. Hummingbot has grown into leading open source algo trading framework. We started about 6 years ago in March 2018. We started with just a few exchange integrations, and over time it's kind of grown into becoming a standard in the market. We're actually seeing a pretty good amount of volume now as well. This is from our dashboard where we track every about 10 minutes or so, your Hummingbot client will report your anonymous aggregated volume metrics. We do know that a lot of institutions do turn it off. So this is probably an undercount. The course of this year, we've had about 25 billion traded. The largest ones are still the centralized exchanges in terms of volume, but we are seeing a really big long tail, lots of DEXs, lots of smaller sexes. I think the core of what Hummingbot is really the connectors. We now currently support 3 different types of connectors. One is like centralized order book exchanges like BitGet and Binance. We also support decentralized exchanges like Hyperliquid or XRPL. These 2 types of connectors are in the core Hummingbot codebase, which is designed a Python-based framework that integrates to exchanges. About starting last year, we also started to integrate into blockchain-based AMM DEXs, Uniswap, PancakeSwap, Meteor, and Meteora. We have a different code base called Gateway that handles interactions with the blockchain and interactions with AMM DEXs. We still see a lot of interest from the community in using and adding new exchange integrations. And we also work with exchanges themselves to add these integrations. So recently we started a bounties program where exchanges can help basically have us manage a bounty, where a community developer builds it according to a spec, and we oversee the whole process for the exchange. We're currently doing that right now for Orca. It's a big job trying to maintain, probably have like 50 plus connectors right now. This is, I think, the core value proposition behind Hummingbot. But then, of course, people want to run strategies. As soon as we started, we created a few sample strategies. Strategy in our definition is really just an automated process that is continually fetching data from the exchange and then performing some type of logic and then executing those transactions. Obviously, there's many different types of strategies. What we try to do is have a framework and create lots of reference examples that the community has been using. The first ones we created, which was called pure market making, I think is still heavily used by the community. And then over the years, recently we introduced the V2 framework, which allows you to build more complex strategies. And so we've been creating examples there. But we also have like a simpler version called scripts. Recently, we took all the connectors, all the strategies, and we put them into what we call the Hummingbot API. The API is basically a REST server that exposes endpoints to have all the functionalities. The API should be the default entry point, especially if you're a developer. Today, we see a lot of our users are either individuals who are getting serious about their algo trading, or they're like small market making firms. In that case, especially if you're operating in a team environment, if you're running lots of different bots, if you're trying to basically set up like a central command center for your trading operations, I think the API is actually the best place to start. So now that we have the API, we're building a couple of reference applications that people can use. Fede he's going to introduce a Telegram client, basically allow you to control the API, do anything a traditional Telegram bot has. And then I'm going to work on a desktop app, focus more on like on-chain activity and basically swapping and LPing. We're hoping that these kind of like reference applications will be used, but also show you what you can build on top of the Hummingbot API. Fede, do you want to add anything before we get started?
Anyone can build on top of Hummingbot API. That's like the main idea behind it. It's like kind of wrapper of Hummingbot, but exposed through an API and with multi-account management. So anyone can build their own application on top of us. That's the good thing, probably.
Yeah. So actually, I have it running here. So basically, just you can see that we have all the routes for kind of like accessing the containers, because a lot of what API does is it spins up new bots as new new containers. You can interact with the gateway API server, which handles the DEX and the blockchain interactions. You can add accounts to new exchanges. You can see the different exchange connectors that are available. And once you add your credentials, you can actually see the history of your portfolio across all your exchanges. And then, of course, you can do direct trading. You can place orders on any of the connected exchanges. You can set the leverage, the position mode, access information like the funding. You can do swaps. You can get information on DEXs and blockchain positions. And of course, you can also orchestrate and run bots. Stefan says, I like to see examples of profitable strategies. Do you have a holy grail? Trading is a competitive sport. The way we think about strategies is you want to know why you're running a strategy and how it's going to make money for you. Or if you're new, I would actually start with something like pure market making, or if you want to start with V2, something like Grid Strike. It's kind of similar to a traditional grid bot. Gordon says, I'm focused on liquidity mining. What is the realistic minimum capital and ROI targets of scaling up? The first thing I would focus on if I'm liquidity mining is a platform that you're mining on. In Hummingbot, in the community section, we have a list of reward programs. The one that's always been around was called the miner platform. And trying to make sure that the weekly rewards that you're going to earn compensate you for any kind of trading losses you may want to have. Now, this does require some experimentation. On the other hand, you also may want to check out XRP Liquid to run bots on the XRPL. Overall, I would advise focus on one program, focus on one trading pair, and start with something like $100 worth of capital and try to make sure you're actually earning and then gradually scale up. So Roger says, I was thinking to build my own community around the Hummingbot software. Is there any way you can make a fee profit from people using the miner, like in Feng or RefLink, so I can keep my service free? The easiest way to do that, I think, is using referrals codes at different exchanges. If you're technical, you can also adjust the Hyperliquid connector to add your builder code into it, for example. And then if someone runs that connector, then you can get paid off the builder code. I do want to encourage people to just create like clubs or sub communities.
Yeah, I will add Mike there that probably adding that will not be a good idea. For example, for Hyperliquid, because you're going to be charging the users, and our software does not charge it. So why the people will use yours and not the original software? It's like the people will naturally pick the Hummingbot software. The way to go is more like what Dom does. I see that Dom manages the Chinese community private group. He charges to access to some premium information about strategy configuration. So
I'm gonna work on the Mac app. The one I built is actually just using the Gateway API directly. Here is a Gateway Mac app. This is a config pane where you can toggle the mode. You can also select the theme you want, and you can toggle the network. So here is Ethereum, and then here is Solana. The main thing you can do is to manage your portfolio. So let's say you want to acquire some more of the Solo token. Here's the address. Currently, the price is about 0.75. So let's go ahead and get a quote for it. Let's try to execute that quote. So here's the details. Here's the actual quote ID. Yeah, this is where I need to do some debugging. And the other thing you can do is manage your pools. Instead of buying the Solo token, you want to add some liquidity to the pool on Meteor. Here is the Solo USDC pool. This is the current distribution. If we want to add position, we want to define how much Solo we want. So let's say and then we need to find a price range. So let's pick a 10% wide position between 0.71 and 0.78. So now it's sent the transaction. You'll see your position down here. You should also see the transaction in the transactions tab. This is one that we just added solo and USDC. See the position here in addition to the tokens in our portfolio. And we can manage the position, we can collect fees on it, and we can close it. I think there's still a lot of work that I need to do. So this is one example. Fede is working on a Telegram example.
Yeah, I think that we are ready to show the Telegram now. Focusing on the Telegram integration, because Telegram, you can use it on desktop, you can use it on the iPad and on the phone. It's called Condor, kind of eagle. This is Condor. It supports multi-server by default. And basically, once you start it, tell you what is the chat ID. This will be important, mainly because if not, anyone else can send a message to the bot. Here we can connect the API servers. For example, this is the local server that I have here. Local is running. If I stop it, now says cannot reach a server. If I start it again and I refresh, now it says it's online again. Then you can also connect your API keys. Here I have connected Binance and Binance Perpetual. I can go here and connect Hyperliquid Perpetual, and I will need to put the inputs in the chat. Then the other config that you can do here is the gateway. You can add wallets, add connectors. You can also restart the gateway, stop the gateway, and so. Well, that is more like for configuration. Then what else we can do? One of the most important things is to check the portfolio. But basically, it gives you by account. If, for example, in Binance Perpetual, I have $52. In Binance, 14K, and Solana, 2.5K. If I have open positions, for example, I have this med position open with the P&L, and also gives you this chart that we can probably improve like over time. Well, what else we can do? We can go here, click Club Trading. This is like the trades that I have been executing with the API, trading long MET. I can just go here to place order. I can use this, the amount that I want to do, the exchange, trading pair. Let's say that I want to sell 0.34 MET, $100. Execute order. Orders placed successfully. We can see now the order here. The same stuff also works for DEX. We can get a quote. You can execute a swap. Basically, we have this buy or sell only. Actually, I didn't try the swap yet. I was working on the club, but let's try to do a swap. Buy one Sol USDC, execute swap, swap executed, submit it. You see here to history, it already says it swapped one Sol. The swap functionality, we can say that it's working.
We're basically working on these two applications. One's a desktop app, one's a Telegram app. They both should use like full power of the API. They actually ultimately are just examples. You may want to have focused on Hyperliquid. What we want to try to do is allow like a central command center for all your trading operations. You can run it locally, you can run it in a server.
Yeah, basically, based on one of the questions here, says that it's like trading orchestration is more important than portfolio monitoring. Unless you just use Binance and you can enter into Binance to see your portfolio, you probably have more than one source. Actually, the next step after I finish the trading basics is to add the bot orchestration. The most interesting thing will be adding the AI inside of the Telegram bot. The AI will help us a lot in the near future to orchestrate the bots. I use, for example, the grid strike sometimes to rebalance my portfolio. You just need to define the rules and let the AI execute the logic for you. The most important thing is to define the rules correctly.
In the future, yeah, you'll be able to automate and kind of let AI really make decisions for you. But here, like as Fede said, because you're using the power of AI, you can say, hey, create 3 positions, and just use natural language to say what you want. And the AI will figure out what you're trying to do and call the right API endpoints in the right way.
That's like the approach that I am saying. Like it's more like a semi-automatic trading, because the automation will happen because Hummingbot does automation for you. But what we are building with AI is like the gateway to interact with this complex system in a simple way. Once you define some structural rules, that's like the most interesting thing. Is like those rules needs to be defined. Like, okay, what's the minimum space between orders? You just define that once, or edit them if you need. But once you have those like base settings, then you can like let the AI mutate that to help you creating these configurations for you. In the future, yeah, we can think like more like an automated stuff. but I think that we are not quite there yet. We are like in the process of how we can automate what we are actually doing right now.
Yeah. Think about like how I would run use it. It's more like, okay, I'm on the go and I'm like, okay, Bitcoin just dropped like 10%. Now's a great time to actually maybe buy some Bitcoin. But it's kind of like, how do I easily do this trade using my Telegram app or whatever while I'm not in front of my computer?
With Telegram now, you can do it with the club trading command. And soon you will be able to send a message to Condor saying, hey, can you buy some Bitcoin?
Now they're going to just the exchange website, the Hyperliquid website or like the Jupiter website, and they're just basically doing the trade there. Hummingbot is basically just standardizing all the API endpoints. I think our main goal is to just make the Telegram application, make the Mac app just something that people can use in terms of the roadmap next year. So I think we can actually significantly increase the number of exchanges. I think we'll actually look at see if we can support prediction markets. We've been talking to Polymarket for a while. Our main focus next year is still going to be on improving the API. If we can just focus on maintaining the API well and just have people start using and building on top of it, then the usage should show it for itself, and we'll get more and more people using Hummingbot. So yeah, we have a cohort of bot camp is in April. Hopefully they'll give us a few months to really just focus on building and improving foundation of the code base.
Yeah, and also I think that focus clean up Hummingbot, a core upgrade on Hummingbot to make it more efficient and more stable. Yeah, in terms of architecture, in case that you would like to run a lot of instances, I have 2 ideas for the next year that I want to implement. The first idea is more simple of AWS or DigitalOcean or any platform that lets you do Kubernetes. Add the functionality to the Hummingbot API to deploy the bots on a cluster. That will probably have more costs because those type of services are more expensive than just servers. And the other option is to have a connection also in the API with other servers using Docker Swarm, because Docker Swarm is much more lightweight than Kubernetes. Via Chef says, you said improve the core of AWS are referring to the Python-based classes improvements. Yeah, probably some of the base classes will be improved. Maybe we can bump versions. I think that the first thing that we will do is probably setting up a good profiling tool to really see how much time each process takes, and then define where to improve. For the connectors, to make them more dynamic. For example, the trading functionality of sending an order should be available for all the pairs from a connector. Actually, Hummingbot API lets you send trades across all the pairs that a connector has. Hummingbot does not let you do that, only for the pairs that you initialize it. Designed for strategies that really need to use the order book and are HFT strategies. But if it's like a mid-frequency strategy, you probably don't need the order book of all the pairs. For example, you can just get the order book of Binance and then trade the same pair across 5 different exchanges with just the order book of Binance. You don't need all the order books. It's always a possibility to start exploring something in Rust. Maybe start with market data service communication to connect that with Hummingbot.
On the deck side, I would say I think there's still some work to do to improve how Hummingbot Gateway integrates to RPC provider. Adding WebSocket capabilities to the RPC, really using it as like a core part of Gateway as opposed to our URL. And I think once you do that, then should be much more reliable. After that, I think I'm really going to concentrate on providing liquidity to concentrated liquidity dexes, mainly because that's part of the main strategy I do personally. What we're actually doing now is we're in the process of like decoupling like the interface of Hummingbot, like the command line interface from the actual the foundation, which are the integrations or exchanges, and trying to make that integration layer like more standardized in the API. So that's why there's actually quite a lot changing under the hood. All right, I think this pretty much wraps up the end of the live stream.
Yeah, that's all I think.
Okay, all right, guys. Happy trading.
Yeah, bye-bye.